Prime members use their account in Spanish. This is basically one of the biggest inefficiencies people have.
Right, and that's gonna help you convert better.
Most people have in their mind a Hispanic is like a Mexican mariachi.
Mexican.
Like, a Mexican mariachi. Yeah.
So,
and that's not true.
guys, welcome to one more episode of the not podcast, not webinar, but we do get to learn. And today we have one of the most amazing, I would say, friend. I consider Vanessa a friend. I met her in Wisdom VCom, I would say maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. Wow, we getting old. How do you feel about that?
It's crazy. It's crazy that we are already in December. Like, what the heck?
Yeah, no, it's crazy. Okay, so I'm gonna explain how I know Vane, what I know about Vane, and then Vane's gonna, explain why you guys should trust on what she's about to explain. We have a very good topic today, and it's about the Hispanic market and Amazon Hispanic market and how you can leverage that to get obviously more conversions, more sales, more traffic. Vane is an entrepreneur. She does the unsexy part about Amazon. She works a lot with Google Sheets, with Sheets in general. She fixes all the problems that you have in the back end that you have no idea you had. She goes in and she fixes it. And if she's grown many accounts to 7 figures. Vane, tell me more about yourself.
Well, I think you covered a bunch of it, like on the professional side, being in the Amazon space since 2017, with the first as an e-commerce manager, then as a freelancer, and ultimately as a agency, right? With online sales solutions. I'm also part of a company called Carbon 6, which is basically an ecosystem of tools that help sellers to have success in their e-commerce business. And what we're going to be talking about today, which is extremely relevant for your audience, Rafael, and things that you do in your business, in your studio, it's basically how we are speaking to the end consumer that is on Amazon, right? And most people that start selling on Amazon, they think that there is only one person and they only have one target audience. When in reality on Amazon we have multiple ones, right? It is not only you could always focus on one specifically, but you will be neglecting the other ones that are already there, and you're probably not targeting them intentionally. So what I'm going to be speaking about is specifically that around the Hispanic market. So I have some data that I'm going to share with you of information of the demographic, information that I have of Amazon itself, like how many users are using their platform in Spanish. And then what we're going to see is what are the things that you should be doing as a seller right now to make sure that you are addressing them or targeting them intentionally.
Yeah.
With your content, and also if you want, obviously the ultimate option always is like investing in PPC, right? Those are the areas that we're gonna be covering today.
Go ahead, let's check it out. Let's dive into it. I'll be interrupting, unfortunately, a little bit about Vane around when I think that the content is good. It's a good opportunity to do something with content, because obviously, as you know, that's where we find photos, pictures, videos, anything that's visually related, branding, etc. But yeah, man, let's jump into it. Let's check it out.
Okay, yeah, and I call it this way, secret algorithm, because what I'm going to be talking about is basically a demographic that we are not even aware, or most people are not aware, that exists already on Amazon. And on top of that is like a neglected demographic. It also, on Amazon, it creates a completely different algorithm of search. And our ultimate goal as a seller is always be ranked at the number one, right? We're fighting every single day for keywords to be number one in our page, number one in our keywords, number one in our subcategory and stuff like that. Well, one thing that happens is that the Spanish algorithm is completely different. So it's a secret algorithm. That's why the name of the presentation. So going into the science of
It's
selling, and yeah,
sorry to interrupt you. But it's very important, guys, to understand that this is for the U.S. market. Like she's talking about the U.S. market. We're not talking about the Mexican market, correct, or any other market. We're talking about the American market, which where most likely you're selling. So this is, and I actually saw recently that you actually saw it in your social media. You posted it that they are now letting you translate your own keywords. So you gotta dive into it. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Let's go.
yeah, we are talking about it. Actually, I'm gonna show you that specific post that I did because it's super cool. We have like a design. One thing that I'll say about that is that it is still in beta for a bunch of accounts. So I'm just seeing it in two of the accounts that we work with, and I see hundreds. So this is not open for everybody yet, but I do believe that in 2023 this will be mainstream. So the cool thing about it, if you're listening to this podcast and if you're understanding and paying attention to what I'm going to be talking about, this could put you in a better position entering the 2023 when this update rolls out to every single account, because when this gets out to the world and every single seller has access to it, it will be basically kind of like game over in that sense, because everybody will know about it. And if you start ranking right now in Spanish, you will have more data and more sales history than the people that will come after you.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's an amazing opportunity. So
correct.
the science of selling, um, we get the more the industry evolves and matures, like the more professional it gets, right? This is not 2015 when we could do anything like super URLs and clicks and buying reviews and stuff like that. The system and Amazon is getting more and more sophisticated in having the best professionals and the best sellers in the platform. And I recently, well, a few months ago, I posted an opinion on social media saying like Amazon just wants the best performers. They want the best sellers, the best implementators, and the best performers. Everybody else will get out of the platform eventually, either because they violate the policies and Amazon kicks them out by deactivating the account, or because the market itself is just gonna eat them. And this is where we get to like value this kind of content, because one step ahead, just if this improve you, and I've seen how this technique improve like between 1 and 7% the revenue on an account a year. Like how much money can you be making just by doing this? So this gets down to a science. We're not in there of like, oh, let me try this and see what it sticks, and test some stuff to get more revenue. This is basically the time where we need to start seeing our inefficiencies and start seeing what are the things that are inefficient in our business right now to improve upon that, because the less we start seeing less inefficiencies in the market. So
Yeah,
this is basically one of the biggest inefficiencies people have. They're not paying attention to the the biggest demographic, the fastest growing demographic in the States. Most sellers are completely blind. They don't know it exists. They're not aware that they're active shoppers of the platform, but that's okay. That's what we're gonna be covering today. And what I'm talking about, as I mentioned at the beginning, is the Hispanic market. So as you know, Spanish is the second most spoken language in the US. That's the thing. That's even a thing globally, right? We are like super tight between Chinese and Spanish. We are huge, and this is like a massive market with a massive purchase power that it is neglected,
yeah,
especially in e-commerce, because e-commerce, and people think that e-commerce happens in the US. And yeah, I do agree on that. Like e-commerce happens in the US. We are the mecca of e-commerce. Why? Because most of the new technologies, most of the new things are developed here, and the infrastructure allows things to happen. here, right? And I was reading a post from a friend that is in Israel, and he was saying like, you guys don't understand how easy you have it in the States with e-commerce, because for them in Israel, buying a product, it could take up to 3 or 4 weeks to get to the doorstep, and sometimes they even need to pay duties on it, and it is so complicated. But here we have it so easy, and given that opportunity that we have, we're still neglecting the fastest demographic, that is the fastest growing demographic in the States, which is the
Spanish.
Hispanic one.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get into a few insights, a few metrics, so you understand the importance and how much money you are technically leaving on the table by no targeting them specifically. So, and this number, 63.6 million Hispanic consumers in the U.S., is the 2020, from the 2020 census, right? We are growing at a fastest pace. I saw a report on like every single day, 4,000 Hispanics get added to the population, which is like insane. It's like, that's an insane number. So growing super fast.
By 20, I forgot the exact date, but there's we're such in such a rapid growth in our cultures. I'm Latino. If nobody knew, I'm from Venezuela, so I'm Latino. Hello. We are the fastest growing population, and by I think it's 2060, we're gonna be the number one voting power in the U.S., which is gonna be it's huge. That's huge. That's that's controls politics. That's why. And not just in e-commerce, like just in general. So now you tell us that Amazon rolling that out, that you can actually translate your listing yourself. That is so true. That gives you such leverage upon other sellers. Because if you start doing that, you start getting those metrics. And if you can actually understand now your buyer persona, and you actually understand now that, maybe, I don't know, maybe you can explain this. If you're ranking for a specific keyword and it's in Spanish, and now that keyword's hola, for example, now you can start creating content, visual content for that hola, right? And that's gonna help you convert better. This is extreme, guys. If you're making money on Amazon, you should really pay attention to this presentation. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah. So okay, we are already 70 million this year, and one of the things that it is important about this demographic is that they have $2 trillion of spending power, and I'm talking about spending power on the sense of like how much money they have to buy basically things. This is not like paying for the power or electricity or internet or water or rent. This is what is left after you take the basics. So $2 trillion. And one of the things that you say, Rafa, it's super relevant, super funny actually, is that we are gonna be the fastest or the biggest population in the States, but also one of the things that right now, it's so funny that right now e-commerce is catching up to this, but commerce, like regular retail, brick and mortar, like B2C, it's already kind of seeing this, and that's why you see brands like P&G brands, let's take whatever, Colgate brand. When you buy in the store, when you buy the toothpaste, you're gonna see that under the explanation of what the toothpaste is, it will say like best, whitening toothpaste ever, something like that. It says that in English, but also it says that in Spanish. So the fact that we're just keeping up, like the fact that we're just seeing that now for e-commerce, it just drives me crazy of like, this is one of the biggest opportunities that we have been missing. And the reason why is that we don't understand that they're there and that they're already buying. And probably it's part of the like ignorance of like, how can we target them, right? This is one of the huge things that Amazon has for us, is that you don't really need to go yourself and knock doors in Spanish and start talking to them in Spanish. The system already provides you with the tools to do so. So we're going to talk about that. Then the other thing, which I love about the Hispanic market, is that they are a young population. So 25% of all millennials in the US, that means 1 of every 4, it's Hispanic, right? And that means basically Yeah, that means that basically they are native online people. Like they know how to buy online, they know what it takes, they understand the rules of the game. So we're not talking about like, knocking door to grandmas and say like, hey, there is something called the internet and you should buy on that. That we're not talking about these people, because the majority of millennials are the majority of Hispanics are millennials. So this is us. I love this image of like representing the sellers that are basically rowing in a sea, in a blue ocean, right, in a huge
Yeah.
opportunity, and they're just blind. They just don't see what they're missing and what they're doing. So, giving you a little bit of insight, who are they and why they matter for your business? This is super relevant because most people, and I want to generalize this, and I know that for some this won't be true, but most people have in their mind a Hispanic is like a Mexican mariachi,
Mexican.
like, yeah, a
Yeah.
Mexican mariachi, yeah.
So
And that's not true. that's
yeah,
that's very, very far from the truth. Yes,
yeah,
within the Hispanic market, probably the Mexicans are or in the US, probably they are the biggest ones within
dominant.
the
Yeah,
Hispanic market. But at the same time, this group is so heterogeneous. Like it is so different. We cannot really compare. And the beauties of this market is also because they are so different within the same language, they are so different that creates micro niches, right? So
yeah,
we can target a Venezuelan, and we can target Mexican, and we can target Argentina in a completely different way, and we will still
yes,
win it because they have different culture, because they have different manners, because they have different uses for your own product. And we're gonna get into some examples that are super interesting. The other thing, and especially because remember that these people are immigrants or are first or second generation, right? They didn't grow up with brand household names. Their parents or themselves immigrated to the States, and basically this is a complete new world. I'm gonna buy
yeah,
whatever makes sense for me. So they are brand agnostics. They're not married to any brand of like, no, this is my brand and I'm not gonna buy like anything else. And I put it as a second insight, which is very important because for e-commerce brands, this is a huge opportunity, right?
yeah,
Because they are willing to try. They are beta testers. They are early adapters of brands. Just if you give a good experience. So huge for us. The second thing is that they're review givers and reviews. Third thing is there are review givers and review seekers. So because they are brand agnostics and because they didn't grow up with those brand name household things and they are stick to something, the biggest driver for them is the reviews. And because the reviews are important for them, they tend to give more reviews than their peers from other demographics. So the American, like the buys the same thing, is less likely to give a review than the Hispanic or the Asian, or they are the biggest one. So this is also another thing that for us, if we understand how to target them on Amazon, this could mean a huge improvement or a huge raise on our review rate if we learn how to request reviews from them and target them.
yeah.
So if you have in your product an insert that says like, hey, if you have an amazing experience, share this with us, you could have that on a site in English, and on the other side you can have it in Spanish. That there is just an amazing experience, and I can assure you, you will get way more reviews than just what you have in English.
I didn't know that. That's good. That's a good tip, especially if your product is most likely targeting or towards a Hispanic demographic.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think it's super important, is how you said like we are all different. This girl in the right, let me put it up again. This girl on the right, she's actually a Venezuelan comedian. And she
Yeah.
looks, if you see her on the street, you wouldn't think she speaks Spanish, that's
Yeah.
how it's so different. That's how we are so different. And you, you really have to understand the product. And like you said, you got to go into it in a little bit, because I've seen this presentation, guys, spoiler alert. it's amazing. That's why I wanted Vanessa to bring it here. I saw it a couple of months ago. I thought it was a VCom, and the way that you have to target differently depending on the country of origin is so interesting. Um, and I didn't know about the review givers. That's something that I think it's a huge deal breaker or deal maker for you, depending how you pursue that review. But that's actually a very interesting topic. Point.
Yeah, actually, if you see on Amazon, you know that you have an option when you get an order, you have an option of to request a review, and within that option, Amazon already sends the review request in Spanish if the user has the experience in Spanish. And I'm gonna share with you this
Look at
slide.
that. I didn't know that.
I don't have in this presentation, but look at this. This is basically this slide is a screenshot that I took from an Amazon presentation. This is real data.
From Amazon.
30 million of Prime members use their account in Spanish.
Oh, I saw that presentation.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Which is huge because from those 70 million that we're talking, that are like they are already buying on Amazon. We are not talking, and this is very important because I get this question sometimes when I do this presentation. It's like, well, but that means so we need to start driving awareness and blah blah blah, and it's like no way. Like the awareness is already there. They are already buying from you. Probably they are already buying from you, and you don't even know about that. So 30 million consumers use the shopping experience and advertising exclusively in Spanish. This is insane because there are other people that like me. I use the experience in English, but sometimes I research the product that I want to buy in Spanish. So I use the experience in English, but I buy in Spanish. So which is also another layer. You can add there like other 10 million. So that's
and I don't know. I don't know if this happens to you, but sometimes happens to me. Like I don't even realize that I'm searching for it in Spanish until I'm like, oh, I don't know why, but sometimes I literally do not see the difference between my brain switching between English and Spanish. I don't know if that happens to other Latino or Spanish speaking humans out there, but sometimes I look for things in Spanish and I'm like, oh, I caigo en cuenta. That's how you say you realize that you were searched for in Spanish, and I believe that might happen to a lot of people as well.
Yeah, correct, totally.
Good question. When you say native online shoppers, right? Are you considering only the first, second generation of Latinos in the U.S., but also because people in Venezuela, Colombia, Mexico, they buy in the American Amazon marketplace and then they ship it to their home countries. You're gonna touch this, right? I know.
Yes.
But
this is huge. I made this presentation based on the numbers in the US only. So because I wanted the official data, right? I don't know. Okay. I mean, if we put together all of the people that are in all of those countries, it will be, it's hard for anybody to know how many of those are buying on Amazon. It is a little, it's a small percentage of the population. We know that, but at the same time, that could be 3, 4, 5 million extra, which makes a huge thing. So no matter where they are, if they are looking and buying in Spanish, you're gonna target them as a online native shoppers. So the other thing is there are millennials, right, in America, but they could be, so the demographic could be a little bit different if they're buying in their native country, because there could be a baby boomer buying something on Amazon because they don't find it in their country. So I mean, anyhow, they are online shoppers because they are already on Amazon. So this is the population growth that we're seeing, and especially not only the population growth, as you can see here, this is only the millennials, right? It's the ones that are 14 years plus, and they buy online. So each year is growing. So this year we have 36.5 million. From those 63.3, we have 36.5 that are shopping on Amazon already, which is the 73% of the population, and that will keep growing and growing and growing. This is just in the US, but to your point, Rafa, this demographic is even bigger, or this audience is even bigger, just based on the fact that they buy in their home country and they buy on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
And actually, funny story, that was actually how I learned about this, because my mom was buying on Amazon. So she was buying on Amazon, and
My
I'm
mom
like,
too.
and I was, she lives in Minnesota, right? So she sent me stuff of like, yeah, I want this, I want that, and I'm like, how is that you're getting to this listing? A listing with one picture, with a horrible title, with like 3 reviews, and it's like 3.5 reviews, and I'm like, how the heck? She should be like browsing to get to this, because it's very hard that this product gets to the first page. I said that to me, it's like, oh, this is crazy. But then when I was with her and she showed me like, what are you looking for? She showed me that she was actually browsing in Spanish in her phone, that is in Spanish. So then these crazy products that will never rank in their main keyword in English, they were ranking in Spanish just because they were optimized for the Hispanic one, which it's crazy. So that's where the opportunity is huge. So in this slide, what I have here is basically the percentage of buying power per state. So the top 10 states that spend the most amount of money from the Hispanic market. So I put this here because if any of these states are one of your biggest states where you're selling, so if you're already selling very, very much in California, or New York, or in Florida, or in Colorado, and you know that you can know that on Amazon, and you can also know that if you're connected to any software, you can see where you're buying, where your buyers are. Yeah. So when you see that, you're like, okay, if I'm already selling, let's say that 20% of all my sales are in California, 20% of those sales are probably Hispanic, right?
Yeah.
So this is like massive, because you're already selling to them. The fact that you're not doing it intentionally is where you're leaving money on the table.
Yeah.
Okay, so a quick story, a quick background. And I love this. Probably I need to create another point here, because the 2023 update is Amazon launched this experience in 2017, which makes it even crazier for me. The fact that nobody talks about this is that almost 5 years ago, almost 6 years ago, Amazon said, you know what, guys, we're gonna target the Hispanic market, because they know, and that's the other thing that we need to understand. When Amazon makes a decision like this, of like, let's change everything in our system to target this specific demographic, there is a reasoning behind that. It's 100%. Not because these guys are like, oh, it's just like one person here and there. No, this is a huge market. So in 2017 they did that. They launched the experience. Then in 2020, so the experience in 2017 was very bad, in the sense of like, it was kind of Google Translate experience.
Okay.
The translation was terrible. They were translating like in real time things, so it was not a great user experience. But then in 2020 they changed the translation algorithm to an AI machine. So it's called the Neural Translation Machine, one of the most sophisticated translation systems in the world. And this is what they're using right now. They're using currently, right? Up to I put the option to upload the secondary language to yourself. So this was something that I was seeing it coming, because the flat files actually have the option to do flat files in Chinese. So I was like, okay, if they're doing it in Chinese, I probably eventually they will do it in Spanish. So I was betting on that. And the update that I got the other day, where I was seeing that on Seller Central, was like, my prediction was right. And I'm gonna show you here. So this is the post that I made on LinkedIn. But if you see the the deck here. Now in the back end of the listing in Seller Central, you see a section here it's called Help Me with Translation. So you see it in the title, you see it in the pro description, and you see it in the bullet points and in the search terms, which is massive. What this will mean in the future is that we're gonna have 250 characters in English, and we're gonna have 250 characters in Spanish. Which right now it's different, because right now what I was proposing was the fact that take down a keyword in English and put one in Spanish. So we were sharing at this point. We are sharing basically 250 characters for both languages. What this proposes, or what this makes, is the idea of like we're gonna have keywords or we're gonna have characters for each language. And when you click on it, this is how it looks, right? So you see your title in English, and then they help you to translate it in the secondary language of the marketplace. That could be Spanish in the US. It could be French in Canada. It could be French, Dutch, and English in Germany. So then you can then translate, and they will help you with the neural translation machine, because they understand that not a lot of people know about, or they don't speak the second language. The system will translate it for you, but if you want to edit that, you can do it. So there, massive change.
That's good.
So perfect. Well, this is the other thing, the drop-down menu in the listing. At one point, we will see in this drop-down menu we have right now English and Chinese, and I hope to see in 2023 it will be English, Chinese, and Spanish. So everything in the listing will change, which is amazing. And what I'm talking about, Rafa, because people will be like, where is this Spanish thing? Like, I never seen it, right? So this is the listing that you see on your Amazon, on Amazon.com. You go and look for a pillow, and this is the listing that you see, right? But the Hispanic audience is basically toggling down where the flag is, and they're saying like, okay, I don't want the experience in English, I want it in Spanish. They click there, and automatically the thing changes completely into Spanish. Not only the content of the listing, but also everything else on the website, like the bottoms, the notes, the name of stuff, everything is in Spanish. So as you can see here, this is the listing in Spanish, and one of the things that you can notice is the title. If we're looking to word by word, like imagine that you don't know how to speak Spanish, the title has a different structure in English than in Spanish, which is kind of weird. And also the other thing that is that they're missing a bullet point. So in English they have 5 bullet points, in Spanish they just have 4. One of the other things, and I circled this in red, is funny because in Spanish they have still some of the old translations from 2017. They have the translation for the pesticide keywords, and I can tell you, because I've seen these kind of issues, if you ever come across to the issue of like having a listing shut down because of pesticide keywords, but you know that you don't have any pesticide keyword in English, probably, and I could bet on that, maybe 80% of the times, that is because the translation in Spanish, which is a secondary listing, the translation in Spanish, it is it has pesticide keywords. So let me explain you what happened here. The listing in English, which is the listing that we all take care of, we all optimize for, and all that, is the main one, right? This is the main one, and that's how the system or the algorithm runs. The Spanish one, or the secondary language, our example today is Spanish, but it could be, as I mentioned, different languages. The secondary language is the shadow. Okay, so it is not 2 listings. There are not 2 listings. This is not 2 different SKUs, 2 different ASINs. No. It's the same thing, but one is the shadow of the other one. Okay, and if the information is good in English, then if you translate properly, the shadow in Spanish will be right. If you don't translate this information correctly, then you will see separation here, where, as I'm showing you here, the English one says one thing, but the Spanish one says another one. So the main approach is like, how can you update that? If you're seeing the update in your Seller Central right now, of how can you translate this, you can do it right now, like automatically, like go there and translate your own thing. If you're not seeing that yet, you could uh, work with Amazon to change it. So main things here to account for is discrepancy of information. And as I mentioned before, discrepancy like this. So one thing that you could notice, even if you don't speak Spanish, is that in the title in English says set of two. In Spanish, there's nothing that says set of two, nothing at all. So we're basically leaving the customer to rely 100% on the images, because if I read the copy in English, in Spanish, there is nowhere that says that this is a 2-pack. And one thing here, quick spoiler alert, we cannot translate images, unfortunately. Like, it's not that when we have the Spanish listing, the images will be in Spanish. Unfortunately, we cannot do that. So we rely 100% on the content that we write. So on the title, the bullet points, description, and A+ content.
What would you do? What would you do if you know, for example, you know that your client has 20%, 60% of the sales are in these top 5 Spanish consuming states. Yeah, let's say Cali, New Mexico, Texas, and Florida. Let's just say, put that out there. What would you do? And if you know that the demographics from the Amazon's demographics page, you know that most likely out of those, 60% of the buying, 50% of that 60% that converts into 100, so half of that 60%, 30% are Latino consumers. What would you suggest for your client to do in terms of content?
So we are about to get into that. First thing is
I got ahead.
Translator. Yeah, you're getting ahead. So let me just go into, this is the example. Let's get the example of a griddle. Let's pretend you're selling a griddle, right? So if you see content about griddles on Amazon, right, you see that the main image could probably have bacon and pancakes, right? Which is a short-minded version of what you think your demographic is. But griddles are used all over the world. I could say in Latin America we use them, right? But we use it in a different way, right? Because the American market has used the griddle for pancakes and bacon and breakfast, but the Mexican demographic or the Mexican people will use it to make tortillas or quesadillas or things that are related to what they eat. In Venezuela, as you know, we use the griddle to make arepas, and I actually have a griddle in my house to make arepas just for that. Like, it's literally just for arepas. We don't cook anything else there. In Argentina it could be for something different, in Chile it could be for something different. So if you know that, and if you understand, because this, Rafael, goes way deeper than just translating the listing. Yes, the answer is like yes, you could translate the listing today, and that will open the opportunity to target a bigger audience, and that's fine. If you want to just leave it there, you're way ahead from a bunch of people on Amazon already. Like, you are good. But if you're gonna say like, okay, I want to go an extra step of what is that I'm gonna do, what's the content that I'm gonna create to target this, well, it's easy. Let's say that you have your third or fourth image, or maybe your second image. You will put the same griddle with a bunch of different type of foods, right? You will say like, okay, we put the picture of the griddle with pancakes, we put the picture with the griddle with arepas, we put the picture of the griddle with tacos, and all or tortillas, and you have all of these different things that target immediately, and in the images only target this. The other thing that you could do is, when you create campaigns for Spanish keywords, you can specifically make images and make videos and make banners that are completely in Spanish. So imagine that instead of having like a beautiful blonde American chick, promoting, let's say, a cosmetic, like a beauty product, now you have a beautiful Latina that's probably brunette, and it has those features. It's the same thing. Like you're creating the content to laser target this audience, and by doing
Yeah.
that, you're promoting in their keywords, in the keywords that they're using. But most importantly, you are in their mind, behind, like in the subconscious, they are seeing themselves in the picture.
Yeah. They
You
relate
know
the
what I'm
human
talking about.
essence.
It's
Yeah.
like, yes, it's like, oh, dude, this man kind of talks to me. Like, this person looks like me. And I will say this: the Hispanic demographic is extremely underserved. Because if you go to any website, any website online or on Amazon or whatever, most people, and I could say 99% of the websites, are not optimized for Spanish. So if you don't speak English, or if you use Google Translate, they will always be underserved, because it's the same thing. Like when in English you see a title or a listing that is like weird, that listing was not written by somebody like native
Yeah.
English
You
speaker.
know it
You know
like
that,
that.
like in the
Hmm.
very first minute, you already know like this was a Chinese. That.
Yeah.
Same thing with Spanish. So that's where, yeah, there is a disconnection. The weird thing, and the most frustrating thing, is that unfortunately this demographic is already used to it. It's already used to be underserved, right? This is where we have the massive blue ocean of like, what if our brand on Amazon could target them, and I could talk to them super specifically, saying exactly what they want to hear,
In their
so
own
they
words.
feel seen. Yeah, they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel all of that, right? So um, other thing, and I love the example of the griddle, because one of the biggest keywords for griddle is comal for tortillas, which is how the Mexicans call the griddle. So the
Come on.
translation of griddle in Mexican is comal, which is the other thing that I mentioned before, of the fact that each country is like a micro niche. Because in Venezuela, when I read comal, I didn't know
I was
what
like,
it
what
was.
is
Like, I'm
that?
from Venezuela
Yeah.
too, and I'm like, what is that? I have no clue. That's not a word that exists in Spanish. I said that to me, but it actually exists in Mexico. We call it budare, right? That's
Yeah.
how we call it,
Yeah.
that type of thing, or plancha. There are different keywords. So because there are different keywords based on localization, based on the culture of the country, we have different niches. So you could target the comal for tortillas, which is for Mexican, and you can target the budare, you can target the parrilla, you can target all of these different things based on the understanding on how these consumers use and search for your product. And one way to do it, this is the recommendation that I always give, is like, let's say that you don't know how to speak Spanish, and you don't have anybody in your team that speaks Spanish. The best thing you can do is at least search with Google Translate, or if you have somebody around that speaks Spanish, ask them for the main keyword that they will use to look for your product, and go to mercadolibre.com and look for that product. Because when you go to mercadolibre.com and you select any of the countries,
It
I
pop
mean,
up
it
in
could be Argentina, it could be Venezuela, it could be Chile, whatever you want, then you're gonna see how the
people
consumers in
search for.
those countries are being served. Like, what's the keywords that they're using? What are the images that they're using? What are the bullet points? What is the description? So now you see that. And it's kind of hard. I know it's kind of hard when you don't speak the language, but this is the first approach that I'll see, and I'll kind of see it as data, right? If you can get that data, you can see that, okay, this is the keyword that it gets repeated every single time in every single listing. Okay, now I know that this is a keyword that I need to have in my listing in the on Amazon.com, correct? So
Yeah.
now you can see. Now you're like, oh, yeah, no, I've been missing this for so long. It's crazy. Um, so this is the old version, the old approach before, or up to now. If you don't have the ability to translate the listing directly with that feature, you will need to open a case with seller support and request them to escalate this to the translation team, So the translation team is the only one that is allowed to change the information in the secondary language. It could be English, could be French, could be German, whatever. But they're the only ones allowed up to now, up to 1 week ago, where I realized that some of my accounts have that option. If you don't have it, this is the path. If you don't want to wait, which I do recommend you do not wait. Don't wait to get this in your Seller Central account to start targeting this audience. So this is what you do. And then, so one of the important things here, and I'm gonna end up with the recommendations for content, but one of the important things here, that this is a long-term strategy to expand your business without going to other countries, without investing in extra infrastructure, without creating another company or having the BTA or stuff like that. Nothing. Like, you are using the same infrastructure that you've been using before. The only thing that you're doing now is that you're being smart and you are targeting people that were already buying from you, but they were like kind of underserved, right? The other one is aligning the vision with Amazon, aligning your vision, your strategy with what Amazon is doing. Hugely important. And the fact that they're rolling this out this year or next year, it's just another huge drop, or doubling down on the Hispanic market is important, or the secondary language are important. And
100%.
So what you can do, first thing, optimize the front-end listing in Spanish. So what we said, translating it if you have the option to do it in Seller Central, or escalating this to the translation team to change that. Remember that the only thing you can change to this point is the image, the title, bullet points, description, and A+ content. You cannot translate the images. So my recommendation, so this is a personal opinion, I don't like to add images and have Spanish keywords on the images. So it's not like you're gonna have an image, an infographic, and you're gonna explain things in English and you're gonna explain them in Spanish. I don't think that's great, but you could do subtle stuff like putting, let's say, the picture of a griddle with tortillas or arepas. That's very subtle, because the American consumer won't really notice the difference. It's like, oh, look all the different things that I can make out of this product, right? So super important. Then add Spanish keywords to the back end. And as I said, we have now the space for keywords, and we have 250 characters. If you don't have the option to translate that, you need to get rid of at least 1 or 2 keywords to add the Spanish ones. Unfortunately, that's what you need to do. So if you're already ranking super well for a keyword and you have it everywhere in your listing, I recommend you to take it off. Like, take it off your keyword section and just add a Spanish one that you want to rank for. Then advertise on Spanish keywords. This is a no-brainer, because the cost of advertising in Spanish is so minimal compared to the craziness that's happening in the English keywords. So huge opportunity. And my favorite one, which is paying attention to the Hispanic holidays. So I made a chart for you guys here. As you can see, Mother's Day, Father's Day, Children's Day. That was funny. Because we do celebrate Children's Day in Latin America.
We do.
And some other stuff during the holidays are completely different dates. So what we're used to, for example, Mother's Day, it's the first Sunday of the year of May, in the American market as well. But in Bolivia, it's on the 27th, so May 27th.
Guys.
And in Argentina, it's in October. So imagine how much more we can do.
I'm taking so many notes from this. Like, I hope everybody as well is taking notes, because everything that she's given, guys, this is extremely important. I love how she separated it. Is as Latino. Did you know that in Colombia they do not celebrate Valentine's Day, February 14th? They celebrate another day. For example, like, that's like when I went to Colombia. I'm not Colombian, Venezuelan. When I went to Colombia the first time, and it was in that moment that I went, it was Valentine's Day there. I'm like, but Valentine's Day was like 2-3 months ago. Like, what's going on here? And they're like, no, it's today. I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. Pichu, can you please pull back the chart again so Vanna can keep sharing? Thank you.
And if you wanna download this and have access to it, you can go to online seller solutions dash Hispanic holidays, and you will have it. Like you can download this and have it. The extra step that I should add to this spreadsheet is what are the names in Spanish. So Mother's Day is Dia de las Madres, Father's Day is Dia del Padre, so they can have the main keyword for that there. Something that we need to update. But yeah, this is basically it, guys. And again, I always like to end my presentation saying that knowledge is no power, implementation is power. And I do think that there are way too many podcasts out there, so many webinars and events and stuff, and people that you can talk to and learn from. It's the information is so fast right now in our industry and in the world. Like we are bombarded by things, but if you don't implement this, and if you spend, I don't know, an hour listening to me talking about this and you're not gonna do anything with it, you're wasting your time. So if you really want to empower yourself and, you know, power up your business, implement these tactics. It could be just as little as making sure the front end is well, up to, you know, creating cool promotions for every single holiday, every single Hispanic holiday that there is. Like huge thing. So it's up to you, but I do always double down on this quote of like, knowing this is not gonna make you more powerful or better seller.
No.
Implementing it is gonna make you better. So yeah, this is the information if you want to contact me, the email, social media. So my favorite social media right now is LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn I'm posting every single day news, updates, SOPs. So I really spend a lot of time creating that content for you guys, so you understand how can you manage and, you know, be better at managing your Amazon account.
No, I love this, Vanny. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was tons of value. Something that you said that everybody should really take it into consideration is, I don't like to say this, but it's kind of like this. Amazon and the medical field are actually kind of similar in the way that they have a constant update on the knowledge that they're bringing out. If you're making money from Amazon, if you're feeding your family off of Amazon, if you're paying your rent off of selling on Amazon, this is something that you should definitely take into consideration. They're not, these people, when they change something, they're not just sitting there like, oh, going with thumbs like this, like how can we make their seller's life more difficult? Let's add now more keywords. Let's add a follow button. Let's add Amazon post. Let's do all these things. When they implement something new in Amazon, it's because they have the data. They understand that this is a way that they're gonna make more money. This is a way that they're gonna give their sellers, their buyers a better shopping experience, because the shoppers are the ones who are investing the money buying off of Amazon, right? So if Amazon's giving you all these tools, it's for you to take advantage of it. And if you do not take advantage of this, your competitor will. If your competitor takes advantage of this sooner, then they're gonna rank better because they're gonna see a better performance. Just like what Vanessa said in the beginning, performance is what Amazon wants to see. If you're selling that better, you have to understand that the Amazon algorithm is gonna reward you better. So it's all this, as Vanessa said, if you have to rewatch this, rewatch it, put it on loop. This is extremely important. I think it's a make it or break it in the next 5 years. Pay attention to your demographic, to your buyer persona, to your avatar, and see if you're actually selling a lot in Texas, New York, California, Florida, New Mexico, Nevada, all these states. Guys, pay attention to what you're doing. You could be leaving a lot of money on the table, and somebody else is taking that market share. And maybe by the time you see it, it's gonna be a little too late. So stay ahead of the game. Do you have any? You know what we could do on it? Like, what we're gonna do from Share Studio? We're gonna make an analysis or a presentation on how you can leverage Spanish-driven content. And if you have anybody that might take advantage of this, of some of your clients, or if anybody's watching this and you know that your Spanish demographic is actually Latinos, reach out to us. We'll make a case study together and we'll create your content for free, and we can make a case study from that, and we can put it to a test. You can be our test, you could say, like what we did with Rossum. But yeah, I mean, I
Oh,
think this is
wow,
amazing. I took,
that's amazing.
yeah. Hey, like this is, I love marketing because this trial and error. Maybe we'll do something amazing. Maybe we'll flip. I don't know, but we'll try it out. We'll put arepas on the griddle. We'll put tortillas on the griddle. See what happens. We'll put
Yeah,
tamales, whatever you
exactly.
want on it.
Exactly.
um, yeah. I mean, I have no questions. I think the one of the biggest thing was the holidays. The PPC, these are the notes that I've been taking. The PPC and the holidays were a major part, and the keywords that you're searching for, and having the translation. You have no idea, guys, how many times, if you're only an English speaker, maybe you won't understand this as much as somebody that's Spanish speaking or Spanish native. When you translate things to Spanish out of from the dictionary, you know it like this. Like, ácaros, for example, wasn't in the when she showed the pillow sample. Ácaros wasn't in the main title, if I'm not mistaken. That's a pest, right? Ácaros is like a bugs.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's bugs or not. Yeah. So that's something that you should be really considering, like understanding if your title is really translating into the actual context. Because sometimes you say things in you translate it from Google Translate, and you're like, that doesn't really actually make sense. Pay attention to that. Wow, this was a lot of information. I hope my team, Pichu, I hope that you grab a lot of bites from this talk, because this was really good. This was really, really good. Thank you, Vanya. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you. I appreciated the invite, and yeah, let me know. We really can make that case study. I'll be thrilled to prove this. I mean, we have some data from our clients, but we don't share that information in presentations or stuff like that.
Yeah, the Amazon sellers are a bit stylish with that, which is I completely understand. There's a lot of people out there trying to sell the exact same thing, so I understand that. If you have any clients, or if you're watching this and you're okay with sharing your data, because obviously it's a case study, that's why we're gonna do it for free. If you want to share your data and you're open with sharing your data, and we think you're a good fit to work with us, and you think we're a good fit to work with you, this is a one-on-one thing. Reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to create some cool content, and hopefully we'll create something that actually converts, and we can share with the community our findings, experiments.
Yeah, perfect.
What do you think of that?
Fun.
Yeah. All right. I'll see you soon then, Banner. Ciao.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having
me.
If you guys have any questions, please contact Vanessa. Leave comments below. You can also contact us at Hello Share. If you need help with any of your content, please subscribe. This is the only motivation that we have to keep creating this content. Vanessa was kind enough to give us an hour of her day. Really appreciate it, Vanya. I know you have a lot of things on your plate. So yeah, please subscribe. That's all I'm asking. That's it. Nothing more. Ciao, Vanya.